Hello everyone, it's Simon again here from TradeRoomPlus.com and FundedTradingPlus.com. I hope your trading week has gone very, very well. I'm back here to do the second part of my 4 weekly analysis. So we're going to have a look at the markets. We're going to have a look at some of the levels that I'm interested in. We're also going to have a look at a couple of the trades that I have taken this week, as I do record all of my trades, and I think it helps emphasize sort of learning, education and development of aspiring and developing traders. Right. Let's get into it. We'll start by having a look at the FTSE. We're approaching the European close at the moment. On Friday, we can see we've had a nice, strong, bullish day here. Now, if we just pull out to a few more units, you can see we're approaching some major levels. Now, I think I mentioned this last week on the FTSE, but the FTSE, this is the coronavirus sort of drop on the FTSE. We can see it's pulled up, it started recovering, and then it's taken its time, and eventually it looks like we're starting to challenge that pre-corona high. We nearly got there on this double top, but we're back up there now, and we're starting to move where we're potentially looking for a shorting opportunity at 7727. Now, if we just come out really far, it's interesting because the true all-time highs of the FTSE are all the way up here at 7,900. So certainly by the end of the year, we may well be talking about those again. We'll have to see. It's a shame it didn't do it this week. I'm just going to zoom in for you to see everything in clearer detail. It's a shame we didn't do it this week because we had R1 weekly here as well, where we could have had a look at potentially shorting in the area. I mean, if you have a look here on the weekly pivot, that's pretty much been the support point for the FTSE before it's projected itself up. We're now into a new monthly high, really strong bullish engulfing candle that's taken the previous highs from earlier in the week, and now we're heading towards that level. So that for me is an obvious double top. Now, how do we trade it? It's one thing having a look at a pattern. How do we potentially trade it? Well, what we want to be doing is placing a stop in a sensible position. So, look how big this daily candle is. Look how big these candles are. We can use an ATR, an average true range, or we can just sort of have a look at measuring it ourselves. I mean, about 78 points there. So we might want to potentially get short around a sort of buy zone at this level, give it sort of 5-10 points, and then maybe have a stop of 40 odd points. That gives the opportunity for a fake out where people start buying above the major level and they all end up in a long squeeze, and then they get in a position they don't want to be, and as they get out those long positions, as they're trapped above this level, the market goes down even further. So that for me is the major level on the FTSE to be looking at this week. European cousin, the DAX. Let's have a look at what that is doing at the moment. Now the DAX is interesting because again we contrast to the coronavirus drop off of the FTSE where we've not exceeded it, and you can see here on the DAX came down and then all these all-time highs up here. And then we've had a little bit of a pullback, well, a significant pullback on the DAX. So we'll just come and zoom in. DAX has found us a bit of stability, but it hasn't been as strong as the FTSE. And as we're rolling over and we've set a high that looks like a pretty clear high, we can have a look at our Fibonacci retracements and see if there's any levels of interest that we could potentially catch this market on. I'm generally bullish on equity markets because, not all the time, of course, got to look at what the market's doing, but because companies, when they're in a stock market, are looking to make money, looking to create wealth, and if you look at the history of them, they generally go up more than they go down. So certainly with this 38 spot 2 level, we have this high here at 13,974. Didn't quite test it there, but a very common pattern for me is looking at what this resistance will become support. So I'm interested to see if the market wants to project itself from there. But we'll see. Today's looked quite bullish, hasn't it? So, and we might not see that level next week, although we have had 4 negative days. We do have a slightly more time before we have the close today, but we're not far away from it. Now, this level's of interest to me now if we are going to hold it. We'll have to see where we open on Sunday night when the futures market's open again, because at the moment, this is, I'm not going to get that exactly how I want, but it's close enough. We can see we've got a significant higher low today. It doesn't look anything like the FTSE. The FTSE was just very, very bullish and blasted through the level, but it looks like we have a slight fake out here. Again, this is what I was talking about when I was talking about the FTSE double top, is look out for this, where the market's peaked up, trapped everyone in, and then brought everyone back down. Now the question is whether we're going to retest this level. So if we keep putting pressure on this 14,314, then I'd be interested in looking for a break long, particularly with today's higher low. The question is where we're going to open when the market's open on Sunday night and into the next trading week. We may, of course, gap massively up, massively down. The Ukrainian situation still has volatility and, of course, potential to do that. So for me, looking for a break of that 14,315. We'll just mix it up slightly and have a look at Bitcoin before we go on to some FX and some more indices. Very heavily traded crypto, again, that great 12-point spread on 8cap that does become very, very desirable, if you like. We've finally broken back through this trend line here. You can see the market, the very, very bearish day on Wednesday where it's broken through that trend line. Now, we may do that trend line from the opposite side. So if you're bearish on Bitcoin, if you wanted to get short on Bitcoin, then you might see this pattern here where it's going to retest, then it's going to do that. That for me isn't something I'm going to trade. I'm still bullish on Bitcoin at the moment. It's just a case of me looking for an opportunity to get long. I think it's worth just looking at a break of this trend line, particularly if we hold this level again. But you've got to remember that Bitcoin is going to be trading into the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, it's 24/7 market. So, you know, if you are a weekend trader, then this may well be what you're interested in looking at, as opposed to waiting for it next week. It depends what's going to happen, of course. By the time you watch this video, Bitcoin could have moved significantly because of how volatile it is. But if it does sort of hold this range in at the moment, and let me just get really zoomed in again so you can see that, then if we start putting pressure back on this line, I'll be interested in looking for a break long, and then that'll give me a place to put my stop loss on, see if we can retrace this candle, see if we can move back up here, because I think the majority of people, particularly retail traders, are bullish on Bitcoin and do want it to go up. I'll have a look at a Dow, and that'll transition us nicely into showing a example trade from this week, or I'll talk about a couple of example trades. Looking quite strong on the Dow. I'm just zooming out overall. Still do have these descending trends. It's not the best parallel lines, but they give you a vague idea. That's why parallel lines are a bit trickier, because they're a bit more subjective than horizontal support and resistance. But we do have a sort of rough market that is moving down here. Just see. There you go. That's probably a bit better. You do have a market that is moving down. Again, strong rejection yesterday of the monthly pivot, and it looks like we're seeing some further upside. So just a bit unsure on Dow. I've no doubt we highlighted this week of 179 last week without looking at the recording. Again, the classic confluence there. You've got the pivot, and you've also got what becomes a terrible pen. What becomes resistance becomes support. It happens time and time again on the indices. I know I talk about it all the time, but it's such a common pattern that is very, very profitable on many, many occasions if you obviously get the trading right. Now, the Dow for me, I'd be interested in probably buying a double bottom here, maybe on a short-term time frame, like a 15-minute or maybe an hourly. And then I think I'd be interested, because we're in range-bound markets, that I'd be interested in looking at this this double top here as well, by getting short at 35,361, getting long down here at 35,200. I think just playing those two ranges. So we'll see where we're next week. I don't think I'm particularly interested in mid-range. There's a lot of volume here, a lot of chop, and that's not particularly an official technical analysis sort of drawing there. So moving on to cable then, just on an hourly time frame there. Let me just go on to daily time frame now. Let me just clear these charts slightly. Now, I think what's quite interesting on cable here is that one moment, I just need to grab this line. We had a fake out of that level that we were talking about. You know, I might actually get long on cable after this session. We'll have to see. Just as it breaks back above 1.29985. It's probably just gone now, this trade, but we were talking about this level last week, and what's interesting is the way the price action has worked. I mean, if we zoom in here, we can see probably a 15-minute time frame be interesting. And Forex does this many, many times, where you see it'll come down, it'll see who's willing to sell the market down here, and then all of a sudden you get this bullish engulfing candle where the buyers come back in, it sort of retests the level and projects itself off long. So an entry around here would have been ideal. If I'd actually been watching this market earlier, to be honest with you, I probably would have taken that trade. But I may still take it, we'll have to see. If not, maybe a break of the high up here. But we're going into the weekend, so I'm happy just to be a little bit cautious. I don't feel the need to necessarily jump straight into this market, but that's a nice example of a fake out there. Now, I think what's interesting also is euro dollar. When we have a look at euro dollar here, we might have a similar sort of thing next week that I'm interested in. Now, if we look at euro dollar at the bottom here at 1.08061. The market wants to pull down, it wants to sort of fake out of that level in the way that we just saw with cable, then we'll be interested in taking a break back above into the previous range. We could pull a fib on that level as well. It'd be the wrong way around, but that just gives us an idea of where maybe targeting 61.8, for example, but it would obviously be from the other way around there. So if it pops down and breaks below this level, the price action we want to see is the market coming down, holding below level, and then breaking back above. That's going to interest us and make us sort of have a look at this trade. Of course, if it just carries on going down, we don't get in the trade. But for me, euro dollar, that is the level that I am certainly interested in. If we come down to that one spot, 0.61. Again, want to see it do what cable's done. I'll just remind you of that price action on cable. Just pull them side by side a second to look at those significant lows from March. The way cable's come down, done that fake out. We're looking for euro dollar to do the same, and then we're going to buy it back into the range if it wants to go on and do that. Just get some more markets up here that we've been interested in and been trading this week. Gold now is starting to look a little bit more bullish. We were interested in just trying to get rid of some of these lines to have some clarification. We do have this sideways range on gold at the moment. Gold being that traditional safe haven when markets become risk-off in equities. It just looks like we have these higher lows here that are starting to wedge us to the upside. So I think we'll be interested in seeing if we carry on putting pressure on these levels. It looks like we've just sort of dipped above that 1944.63. If we carry on putting pressure into this zone, I think, we'll just mark this up as a bit of a buy zone. We carry on putting pressure into this zone, I think I will be interested in looking for a long position if we do end up breaking up there. When we'd end up looking at targeting this 1966 level, it has the monthly pivot confluence. I'd be interested in getting short. Did have the weekly pivot on this 159. I think that 159 can disappear for me for now, just to give us some chart clarity. I think for me, I'd be interested in buying up here if the market can sustain in here, and then end up looking for targeting that 1966, where I'd be looking for a short on a shorter term basis here. We'll be looking for a short on the monthly pivot as the market comes and hits this high. So we'll just have to wait and see if that happens. Of course, we can pull that longer term Fibonacci retracement to see where this market is potentially got any fibs. There's nothing hugely that's jumping out at me that I'm interested in the fib retracements. And we could also pull a shorter term fib here as well and just have a look and see if there's any relevance. Not particularly. So for me, for gold, I'm interested to see if after the weekend we end up sustaining in this sort of buy zone. We end up looking for a break long to get towards that sort of 1966 spot 19 area. So yeah, some areas of interest certainly this week to be looking at. Plenty of markets that are moving very favourably at the moment, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We'll be able to get some more trades on. Remember, I will be trading. I'll be doing some analysis on Wednesday, should I say. You may have already joined our live trade room to watch me trade live in the PM sessions. You're welcome to come and join with the relevant links in the email that you receive and come and interact with me, come and watch me trade. I'll show some live trades on Wednesday that we're taking in the week to sort of emphasise that learning, and I hope to see you there. I hope you have a great weekend and trade safe and also be safe. Thank you.